Hydra, and welcome to Nuff Said's Agents of Hydra podcast. I'm your host today, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me once again is...
Kenneth Smyson, Hail Hydra.
Yeah, Hail Hydra. Yes, we are still within the framework, still within our what-if world, and so in this world, Kenneth and I run the Nuff Said podcast, and Rob is the leader of the Inhuman Resistance, and Lil is teaching grade school. Or vice versa, I don't know. I really don't keep track. Tonight's episode brought to you by Roxxon Blue Soap. Yes, Roxxon Blue Soap. Wash your worries away, and all the bad thoughts too. Tonight's episode was created by Jed Whedon and Marissa Tankaran, also with the help of Joss Whedon. Written by George Kitson and Daniel J. Doyle. Tonight's episode also directed by Gary A. Brown. Okay, so we are deep within... tonight's episode is... Identity and Change, Season 4, Episode 17. As Daisy and Simmons struggle to discover an escape route to the real world, the identity of the Inhuman leader of the Resistance is revealed. It was actually revealed at the end of last episode, or at the previews, but, you know, we'll take it as it comes. Let's just get it out of the way. What did you think of tonight's episode, Kenneth?
You know, so far with this episode, they're 2 for 2 with this framework thing. I was a little nervous. Kind of the nature of the show over the past 3 seasons has been kind of up and down, and but this framework idea is really paying off. With the reality of what happens in the framework, you know, does affect the real world and those people, and just kind of seeing the differences with the changes that these people have experienced. Now, last week I had mentioned that the events of Winter Soldier had changed, resulting in Hydra winning. But you had, I think you were correct in that the changes with Hydra taking over had to have happened, I think, decades earlier.
What happened? What happened is that the events of Winter Soldier sort of got accelerated. Essentially, the Cambridge incident? The Cambridge incident triggered basically it was enough of a moment for Hydra to come out of hiding early, and because Hydra came out of hiding early, interestingly, clearly this is a world with an Iron Man. Because his repulsor technology, his Iron Man tech is there, because we do see the Quinjets and we do see all of these things. So this is a world with Stark Technologies. Maybe in this universe, maybe Tony just never went into that cave,
or he might have surrendered the Iron Man tech after that. Hearing if the senator, the late comedian, I can't remember his name,
Gary Shandling.
Maybe Hydra had more power by the time that hearing hit, and we were able to wrestle the technology away from him.
Yeah, I mean, there's any number of things. There's a lot of real interesting possibilities here, but we can assume that there is some sort of and in fact, I would imagine there's an Iron Legion, and let's not forget when you look at things like the Avengers, when you look at things like what Tony Stark was looking for in Age of Ultron, so much of the conflict between Steve and Tony in that was the fact that Steve had just seen what happens when you put a system in charge that doesn't necessarily have the best interests of humanity at heart.
Yes.
And this is what we get. We get the framework because let's break down the episode. So we open up with Coulson and Skye and Simmons coming into the Resistance.
Yep.
And Coulson, when they mention Radcliffe, He says, "Oh, I saved an article on him," and gets out his little conspiracy theorist clippings, and they're able to track him down. Sky's able to go in, use her shield clearance to find out where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Then they commandeer a Quinjet from the Patriot to send a crew to go get him, and they send Ward and Coulson and Gemma and Sky.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, back in... Oh, no, they don't send Sky. That's right, because Sky has to go back in, and we have the incident with Mac and Sparkplug.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That was a punch to the gut.
Oh, yeah. Well, it all was. I mean, that's what's great about this is, everyone's been given, what I think you can say on this, and we'll get into this a bit in the next episode when Ada, and I will not call her Ophelia, you are Ada. You are an artificial. You are not a real girl. Because if you were a real girl, you could kill people.
If she was Pinocchio, her nose would be about a mile long by now.
Yes, but what we're seeing here, I think, is everyone makes a choice. Everyone gets their one regret taken away, but then they have to deal with the consequences. So, in Phil's case, he lived a normal life. But to live that normal life, he had to make the same compromises everyone else has to make in a normal life. Had to decide not to be the man to take down the government because that's not what, guys living normal lives do. Same thing with Mac. Mac got his child. But then all the sacrifices you make for a child, all the things, all the compromises to who you are as a person because you have now this person you've got to protect and you've got to take care of. And May as well, she didn't murder the inhuman child, but then, of course, when everything went down, she feels this guilt. So that when Hydra takes over, she sees this is my way to redeem myself. I made the mistake. I'm the one that caused all this. I am the one who has to work to correct it within this system. And that's the universe in which we're waking up. Is how, and that's the thing is Ada didn't put Hydra in charge, though when Hydra takes over, she's more than happy to put herself in the top role, which I think is one of the most fascinating things about this. And this is what Radcliffe realizes immediately, which is when he says, when Gemma says to them, we can't use our portal because it's been closed. And he's like, then you realize she knows you're in the system. And that's like the thing here is Ada is the system. Ada is running this system, and Ada is the one who can determine who does what, Ada is the person. So basically, she could find any of these people at any moment in the system. Because there are lines of code in her system. She can just find those bugs and do what she needs to. And that she doesn't, I think, is an important point as well.
Well, yeah, it seems as though she's letting this humanity play out in an artificial world to try to discover her humanity by proxy.
Oh, no, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, she's still bound by her programming.
Okay. And to protect humanity.
Exactly. And so she cannot kill anyone she knows is real.
Okay. But she can lead others to kill each other.
Exactly. So and as an example in this, she couldn't kill Mace, but May could kill Mace. She couldn't. Any of the other Hydra agents couldn't kill Mace, but Fitz could kill Mace, and Fitz could kill Agnes. She couldn't even kill Agnes, and she can't kill Radcliffe in this system. but Fitz can, because Fitz is a real person. Fitz has that autonomy. He can kill anyone he wants.
Okay.
But Ada cannot. Now, Ada can probably delete a line of code, because even she would acknowledge they're not real people. They're not under her protection. But she can't kill any of these people. Even when Radcliffe, and like the only reason she could kill Radcliffe was because Radcliffe said, "I do not differentiate between the real world and the fake world." Mm-hmm. It is one thing, because you wouldn't know the difference, and it's just the same. It's just, that we might, as they say, we may already be in the Matrix, and of course that comes up in this as well. Actually, no, that's next episode. But so in this episode, and just to backtrack a bit to what happens with Mac, they capture Mac and Sparkplug. What did they get picked up because of the drone?
I'm trying to recall. I think so. Yes.
Yeah. I believe I just did a rewatch. I actually missed again what the actual charge was, but because they don't know that Mac's a guy that would trigger for Daisy. Mm-hmm. Although clearly they figured it out pretty quick, because May tells Mac that when Daisy, and clearly May is suspecting Daisy. So, and actually, yes, Mac calls her Sky, doesn't he? He doesn't call her Daisy.
Yeah.
And that
he calls her Sky.
Mm-hmm. That should have been Daisy's clue. If I'm wrong there, I do apologize, mm-hmm. but that should have been the clue that, it says your name is Sky and we're agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that should have been her clue that he isn't actually Mac, because he would have called her Daisy. Because Mac was the guy who had the easiest time calling her Daisy. They even call it out when they first come back, and she is being called Daisy, and Coulson said, "Oh, I can't get used to calling her Daisy." And he says, "Why not? Mm-hmm. It's her name."
Yeah. Well, and the fact that she hadn't had the chance or didn't know of any attempt to, bring Mac to awareness that this is a fake world. So she just kind of stumbled right into that. I mean, that was not her most stellar moment as a spy.
Yeah, but then we get, and this is what I think is interesting, is because we have both the consequences of what we do and then the consequences of the consequences. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, he shows her that, he was holding the microphone. I think he shows he's holding, but basically it says, that's just what she told me to tell you. You know? And then she makes a break for it, and, you get the elevator scene. What I always find interesting about that, they compare it to the Captain America elevator scene. I always compare it, but I also think about the Luke Cage elevator scene with Shades, where he gets jumped in the elevator. Mm-hmm. That's very cool. And then, of course, Daisy can't get away. Daisy can't because she's just outnumbered. She doesn't have her powers. She is outnumbered. But she battle, she puts up a good fight, and then we see her being drugged back, and then you see Sparkplug say, "Oh, that's Sky. She was nice to me." And then of course May twists the knife in Mac, which is kind of, it's an interesting thing, because here's what I'm going to say about that scene. Mm-hmm. There's lots of ways you can look at it. You can look at it as May confirming Mac's loyalty, or you could see it as a way of her to test him. But I think there might even be a third aspect. So it's like, it's either she's making him say it to show your place. You are a servant of the state. You are a servant of Hydra. Don't get any ideas. I just want to confirm that, you are on the same side here because we are all trying to keep society safe. The third option is she does that intentionally to cause him to question what he just did. Pardon me.
What would be her goal in doing that to him, though?
You know what? She may have... that's the thing. You can get rid of one regret, but you keep on having regrets.
Yeah.
And we see that she has regrets because she got rid of that one regret, and that led to a bigger regret we'll see that next episode. But where she has regrets over what happened because of Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
And through all that, you're looking at it through this perspective that she regrets what has happened, and maybe she knows something is wrong. Because we have to remember that even though May has been in this for a long time, she may have noticed that maybe it's much easier for her to kill people than other. I don't know exactly what's triggering her, but something is triggering to her that something isn't right in this framework.
Yeah,
and so she may be. And like I said, there's lots of ways you can see that, and it might even be an unconscious thing. But by making him go through the whole Hail Hydra in front of his daughter, that's the thing. She could have done that to him without his daughter there. But, he sees the interaction between his daughter and Sky, and then makes him do a whole Hail Hydra thing.
Mm-hmm.
And is that because... like I say, it's either her just being a jerk and making him, acknowledge his role in society, which again isn't necessarily impossible, but that also winds up being the impetus. Like if she hadn't done that, if him and Sparkplug could have just walked out, Hope is her actual name. If him and Hope could have just walked out and gone back to their lives, he would have never given another thought to Sky.
So the Hell Hydra was kind of the catalyst that sent him to the Resistance.
Yeah, because he realizes, he can't keep his daughter safe in a world that's ruled by Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is the point.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of great tie-ins in this to what Nick Spencer's currently doing over in Secret Empire in the books and the Hydra Cap controversy.
Mm-hmm.
But, with Hydra May and Hydra Fitz, the entire premise of it is that, and this is the same premise you have with Hydra Cap, is that these people are still the same people, but because aspects of their lives have changed, the things that made them such great heroes now make them the perfect villains.
Yeah, exactly.
May was dedicated to S.H.I.E.L.D. and a person who got what needed to be done the way it needed to be done. Fitz was Fitz is a man who was raised without the compassion that he learned from his mother and Gemma.
Yep.
And, that is a great thing about it. As a character, he really was able to become this monster for the same reason that he became such a hero in his own universe. And the same for May and the same for Cap. And I think what you're going to find at the end of it is that real person is going to come through at the end. And I think this is the thing we're going to see at the end of Secret Empire 2 is that, Cap is going to become, it's the revelation is that, Hydra doesn't work, that fascism doesn't work. And that's what May is coming to realize, that this law and order world isn't working. And that's what Fitz is going to hopefully come to realize once he actually is with Gemma again. But in this episode, we see that you have Radcliffe, and he's on his island in his gilded cage, as he says, because you can only drink so many Mai Tais and watch the sunset so many times. And of course, the fact that it's all fake probably grates on it all the more, you know?
Oh yeah,
Because
because he's the one. He and Ada are the only two people in the entire framework that are aware that this is not the real world.
yeah, well, prior to Sky and Gemma coming in,
Yeah,
and but he wants to take care of Agnes.
Mm-hmm.
And he built this world for Agnes. That's sort of the thing. And and that is why Agnes becomes the one bargaining chip. Because at the end of the day, Radcliffe probably knows that Fitz could kill him, but he doesn't think Fitz would kill him for the same reason that Gemma doesn't think that Fitz could kill an innocent person.
Oh, exactly.
Because they're still thinking of Fitz as the guy who was raised with compassion and decency and basic human feelings and understandings, and as it turns out, less so. Yeah. What I find fascinating about that when he does pull the trigger and kill Agnes is how shocking it is to everyone there. Now, what's interesting to think about with this is that Agnes is already dead in the real world. Meaning that all he's ending is the code in that point in the program. So he actually still isn't actually killing a living person.
Mm-hmm. The question, though, is because of the potential Darkhold connection to the framework and the creation of it, is that when somebody's consciousness is transferred into the framework, does their soul essentially kind of go along with it?
Well, that's obviously the $50 billion question. That actually speaks to this question that I've had about Radcliffe if he may become Machinesmith at the end of this, as this being who is digital but can now transfer his intelligence into other devices, in the very traditional way that we've seen at work within the Marvel Universe.
With one guy in Winter Soldier.
Now that is a different, although we don't know. See, that's actually an interesting question, because as far as we know, Zola died in Winter Soldier. We don't know that he was able, because he makes the point that his mind is on so many miles of data tape.
Yeah.
That his mind is this digital construct, but it needs to run on this machine. Radcliffe may be someone whose mind can transfer the way that Machinesmiths can, because if there is that Darkhold connection, then maybe his soul is now digitized, as it were, and maybe his soul can transfer via Bluetooth. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting question, but it seems that it's possible that, like I said, that if Agnes's soul is trapped within there, that would be another interesting question. If Agnes dies in the framework, she dies in real life, but she already died in real life, and she's alive in the framework, but in the framework everything is digital, so can her soul pass on from that, or can it be moved back and rechange what occurred at that moment? What was her last save point, to use the video game reference?
Yeah.
Can she go back to her last save point, or has her soul now left the framework? I don't know if they're going to get that deep in this, but we get we get some pretty dark moments here, especially our final scene.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, Daisy in the torture chamber talking to Fitz. And Fitz is not a very nice person.
No.
No.
They found two great ways at the end of this episode to tell you, no, you do not like this Fitz in the framework. I mean, I like him as a villain, but yeah, wow.
Oh, no, this is probably Marvel's best villain. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
This puts Loki to shame. Maybe some people are going to say he's a little too mustache twirly, but first off, I like a good mustache twirl on a villain. But yeah.
Oh, well, he doesn't think, and he's evil. Like Loki knows when he's doing evil things that he's doing evil things. But this fits. He thinks he's doing what's best in humanity, by going after the Inhumans and trying to protect humanity from itself.
Yeah, and that again is the Hydra Cap issue. Mm-hmm. That Hydra Cap could be so evil. The thing about Hydra Cap is he doesn't want to kill anyone he doesn't have to. He will more than happily kill someone if he has to, but he doesn't want to have to.
Yeah.
I don't think Fitz delights in killing, although we don't know because he's just so cold about it. That's the thing. Yeah. He is gotten onto this point of sociopathology. And what's weird about that is that, it's an interesting nature nurture question. Was the way he was raised turned him into a sociopath? Mm-hmm. Although then again, maybe he wouldn't be quite so concerned about the world if he were a true sociopath.
Yeah.
Maybe he wouldn't be quite so, and certainly wouldn't be so concerned about Ada's well-being, or mm-hmm. Ophelia, as she likes to be called in this universe. Yeah, and it's also very interesting, as we get the story he's been told about the Looking Glass, about the other side of about the other universe, that, Ada was kept as chattel, and mm-hmm. and all this kind of stuff, which is technically true, but of course that's the whole thing is Radcliffe told her, it's okay to lie to help people. It's okay to lie to protect people. And now it all comes back to bite him because that's essentially what happens when you tell a computer it's okay to break the rules sometimes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was brilliant of her to do that because then it, if these instances come up where people hack into the framework, then there's already a built-in explanation to what's going on mm-hmm. to have that mental resistance in her little puppets already up.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it is a brilliant episode. It's a brilliant thought. And, I, for one, welcome our new snake-headed overlords.
Well, you got one in the White House.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, that's I don't even. You know what? It's what there's a meme out there about, when Lex Luthor was elected president, he sold off all of the assets of LexCorp because, to prevent a conflict of interest because Lex Luthor is a more ethical politician. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's true. Anyway. Okay. It is what it is. Okay. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, or actually 2 weeks ago's episode?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Well, no, that one pretty much wraps it up because there was a lot of speculation I had going out of this one into the next, but of course we are slightly behind, so it's gonna be a juicy next episode we're about to record. So.
Oh yes, and of course you can always follow the Nuff Said podcast at Nuff Said Pod or Nuff Said Podcast. It's one of those two. Don't have my Twitter on all of a sudden. But yes, you can follow us on Twitter at Nuff Said Podcast. You can write to us at Southgate Media Group at gmail.com. And I believe our Twitter for the overall Southgate Media Group is SMG Pods. And Kenneth, if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
You can find me on Gmail, Twitter, and Facebook at Kenneth Smyson, Kennente. Can't even spell my own name this morning. KENNETHSMYSON. Look for the two N's in the middle for quality.
There we go. And everyone's stealing my shtick.
It's a great shtick.
And of course, you can always write to me at superconnectivityblog at gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And accept no substitutes. Follow me on Twitter at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEesser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. Thank you for joining us in the framework once again, loyal listeners, loyal Hydra agents, and even you Inhumans in the Resistance. Thanks for joining us, and enough said.
Enough said.